Hey guys, in this video we're going to see what if Nagato gave Naruto the Rinnegan. Naruto x Konan harem. This is part 3, and if you want more then please comment 1 pink emojis and complete 100 likes. I request you to check out author of this story named The Last One by Mega Darkly, and I have made Naruto impregnate all female ninjas on Patreon, so do check out. All details in description. Let's get into the video. Naruto blazed through the village while his mind was currently fixated on Tsunade. He couldn't believe that she went unconscious again. She was doing perfectly fine the last few days, so why did she all of a sudden slip into a coma? It didn't make any sense to him. He remembered her being seemingly normal for a while now, and taking things as if nothing was bothering her at all. Ashi, Naruto. The orange-haired boy screeched to a stop as he gained an earful of a familiar female's voice. His head darted around his shoulder, and his gaze took in the appearance of his pink-haired teammate. Hey, Sakura-chan, the orange-haired boy let out as he flicked his hand in a greeting. Sakura came closer to the orange-clad ninja and gradually changed her face into confusion. Naruto, your hair. I know, isn't it strange? The Jinchuriki let out a snort and folded his arms. It has to do with my Kekkei Genkai. Sakura looked at him again before shaking her head, as if it was unimportant. I guess you heard about Tsunade-sama. Then, Naruto lowered his head and dropped his arms to his sides. Yeah, I wanted to see her again after I found out. The pink-haired girl gave a genuine smile and placed her hand on Naruto's shoulder, causing him to look up a little unexpectedly. Come on, let's go together. Oh, okay. Sakura-chan. Space break. She was like this when we found her this morning. The pink-haired medic Nin responded quietly while gazing at an unconscious figure laying in a futon. We don't know what happened, but we all agree that she has fallen into another coma. The girl then kneeled beside the futon. None of us even know if she'll ever wake up again. Naruto gave a pathetic stare to the unconscious woman laying in the bed and mumbled softly to himself, Tsunade. Don't worry, Naruto-kun. Shizen responded with a smile and comforting gesture. I'm sure she will pull through this just like last time. She's a very strong woman and won't be put out by something so easily. The orange-haired boy looked to Tsunade's assistant and lightly smiled. He knew Tsunade wouldn't lose to something like this. She was the Hokage and a very independent person. She has a very strong will to continue living, so he was sure that she would pull through this. Maybe thanks Shizen Nichin. Sure. The black-haired assistant replied happily. Once that happened, a click occurred in Naruto's brain as he remembered something. Hey, Shizen Nichin? The black-haired woman grunted. Do you have any of those chakra rods from any of the bodies of pain? He received a nod in approval. Why? Yes, I do, Naruto-kun. Is there a reason? Actually, he began while lighting up a little. I wanted to use them so I can make something a type of weapon. I only need one of them. Sure, Naruto-kun. I'll send you one later whenever I get done checking up on Tsunade-sama. That answer earned a happy glare from Naruto and a slight inside giggle, although she didn't know why. Right after he giggled, Shizen spoke. I'm sorry if this seems rude, but I can't help it because I have to know. Once the boy signaled her to continue, she asked, what did you do to your hair, Naruto-kun? The Jinchuriki sort of laughed at her question, causing the woman to look at him with perplexity. Everybody's been asking me that same question. He then shoved his hands in his pockets. It's because of my Kekkei Genkai. It just happened today, so I don't know if it's permanent or not. Well, Shizen started. I guess it matches your outfit, and it doesn't look too bad, so I guess it's okay. I think Naruto should change his clothes, Sakura stated bluntly, causing a shocked reaction from the Jinchuriki. Now he is too orange for anyone to look at. Plus, I don't believe anyone is going to take him seriously with all of that bright color. Sakura-chan, what do you mean? Naruto shouted at his teammate, if I change to another color, then people won't be able to recognize me. Do you want the dangerous ninja to notice you? After a moment or two, he spoke up. Maybe you're right. Finally, Sakura replied as if this was an ongoing battle, which it was. She asked him over and over again since they first became teammates to change into something more ninja-suited. But he always gave her a disapproving headshake and an onslaught of reasons why he liked his outfit. It was as if this was a life or death question to decide to change his clothes, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. She actually had this same argument with the Uzumaki numerous times, and it all ended up the same way, except for now. I'd have to agree. Naruto-kun, Shizune spoke up, trying to voice her opinion. Although you might like the color and design, it is also very irresponsible as a ninja, because I know, Naruto replied while waving his hand. Just let me think about it. He then walked out of the room slowly, leaving Shizune and Sakura alone with Tsunade. Both of the women stared at each other confusedly. It wasn't long until the black-haired medic Nin spoke up. Naruto-kun is acting strange. I know, Sakura stated with a barely audible voice. He's been like this ever since he defeated Pain. Tsunade's assistant pondered on the situation a little further before Sakura broke the silence. I guess I'm going to check on Naruto. I'm starting to become a little concerned for him. All right, Sakura. Take care. I will, she replied quickly as she waved her hand, darted out of the room. Space break. Change my clothes? The Uzumaki thought quietly. I know it's irresponsible, but... He pulled on his orange and black jacket and flowed his eyesight through the texture and colors. It's one of the only things I've left to remember Ero Sennin. The boy trudged through the street while he continued gazing at his jacket, lost in thought. Jiraiya was a very important person to Naruto. Even though the perverted hermit was his godfather, he really acted as if he was his real grandfather instead. The blonde knucklehead really grew on him through the years, and Jiraiya really grew on Naruto. The outfit was a gift from the Toad Sage during their 3-year training trip. It was something that the blonde truly treasured because it was something that was actually given to him from someone important. The relationship ended rather dramatically after the Elder Sage's death by the hands of Nagato. It was almost making him cry again at the loss, but he couldn't cry about that. No, not now. He already cried before, when he was alone and sure no one was around him. He had to keep strong in front of everyone else who believed in him. Nagato was just like Sasuke. The Jinchuriki resounded through his mind, trying to change his thought path. Both of their parents were killed. They both wanted to exact revenge for the same reason. Bump! Naruto shook his head and blinked his eyes a few times as he tried to figure out where he was. He fell flat on his, but after he hit an unknown object. When he looked up, he gained a view of an older man's back. Sorry, sir. The Uzumaki responded with honesty in his voice. I didn't see where I was, Tazune-san. The orange-haired boy saw the man, turn around, and gained a sight of the man's face. The man looked at him for a moment before he spoke. Those whisker marks, Naruto, is that really you? Naruto gave a bright grin. Yes, sir. It's really me. Naruto, my boy. Why, you've grown a lot since we last met. You even changed from blonde to orange hair. Did you dye it or something? The Uzumaki gave a sweat-drop expression. Well, it's a long story. The bridge builder let out a hearty laugh while the Jinchuriki chuckled nervously. Tazune-san? Both Naruto and the elder man turned their views to a pink-haired girl running up to them. Oh hey, Sakura, isn't it? My, how much you've grown. It really is you. How's Tsunami-san and Inari-san? The medic Nin asked with a smile. Tazuna let out another brief laugh. They're both doing fine. Actually, Inari is helping me rebuild your village as we speak. Oh, that's awesome. Where's he? Naruto asked as he gave a salute to shield his eyes from the bright sun rays. I want to meet him again. I'll go get him. Give me just a minute. And with that, the older man departed in search for his grandson. A moment passed while Sakura looked onto her teammate. She knew that something was wrong with him, but she didn't exactly know what. He hasn't been too forthcoming with his answers lately, and it has really been bothering her. He's actually been exponentially quiet compared to his original personality before the fight against Pain. She didn't really understand what was going on inside Naruto's mind, but she knew that it had to be something that was really troubling him. Naruto? The boy sat there lost in thought for the umpteenth time before the call finally registered in his mind. What is it, Sakura-chan? The pink-haired girl sighed once before she began. I've been watching you ever since you came back to Konoha from that fight with Pain, and I can't really hold it in any longer. That statement really got Naruto hooked on what she was about to say. Well, what is it? Naruto, she started. I've known for a while now that there's something going on with you. But the problem is that I don't really know what is wrong with you. Even yesterday while we talked about Konan, I thought she was the problem, but I now realize that it's something else that you're not telling me. I've noticed that you've become very quiet, and you don't like talking as much as you normally would. Is there something on your mind or something that you would like to talk to me about? The Jinchuriki looked at her a little funny because, normally, she doesn't offer a chance for him to vent. But, nonetheless, She is a best friend to him, so it's not like it is not supposed to happen. But usually it's the other way around. Truth be told, though, Naruto doesn't really have a reason why he is acting this way. He never really thought about it until now, because he's always thinking of ways to make Konan happier around Konoha, but thinking like that really doesn't really get him down too much. Nah, I'm fine, Sakura-chan. There's no need to worry about me. He then threw a cheeky grin in her direction, making the medic Nin feel a little weight on her heart. Are you sure, Naruto? I'm positive. The orange-clad boy replied cheekily while giving her a thumbs up. Sakura felt like he was still lying to himself, but she held her tongue because the medic Nin knew that she would never get anything out of the boy anytime soon. Hey, Naruto! A voice yelled out in the distance. The Jinchuriki snapped his head to the source of the sound and saw a boy running up to Sakura and him. He looked like he was a preteen with black spiky hair that was slightly more tame than Naruto's. The boy was wearing a black sleeveless V-neck shirt with pale, colored cargo pants and wearing black sandals. Inari? The orange-clad boy asked with uncertainty, as if he couldn't believe it. Yep, the young boy responded as he slowed to a stop in front of both the ninja. That's me. Wow, Inari. You've gotten a lot bigger from when I last saw you. The Jinchuriki laughed with a cheeky grin. You have too, Naruto, but I don't remember you having orange hair. I thought you were blonde? The accused smirked at his friend's question. But I thought I should try something different. Sakura eyes laid onto Naruto's face once he said that. I guess it's best to keep our mouths shut about what happened. After talking for what seemed like hours, but was really only a few minutes, both parties departed from each other, and Naruto began walking towards Kakashi in Yamato's tent with Sakura walking beside him along a forest path. So, Zabu's sword, Kubikiri Hocho, was stolen from his grave? The pink-haired girl asked Naruto for reassurance. The orange-haired ninja sighed once as he walked, while keeping his eyesight forward. Yeah, I can't believe it. I wonder who would steal it? Naruto thought about it, but no one really came to mind. I don't know. It could be anybody. Naruto. Sakura. Wait up. Both turned their heads and saw a teenager with brown hair, red fang-shaped tattoos on his cheeks, and dark clothes, riding a giant white dog over to them rather quickly. He seemed as if he was about to die if he didn't get to the both of them fast enough. What? They both replied in unison. What is it? Look, the brown-haired Inuzuka replied hurriedly. Just listen. Tsunade has been dismissed as Hokage. That reply shocked both of the ninja. Both of their eyes widened dramatically. What do you mean, Kiba? The Uzumaki asked, concerned for obvious reasons, but the shock was evident in his voice. Tsunade's not the Hokage anymore because of her relapse. The Inuzuka yelled quickly. She's now been replaced by some guy named Danzo. I don't know who he is, but he seems really shady. Danzo? Both members of Team 7 yelled angrily. They knew exactly who Danzo was. He has always been one of the people that both of the ninja didn't like. He was very mean and full of dark secrets that no one really knew about. But now that he has taken the position of Hokage, he could really do anything that he wanted to do now. That isn't all, though, Kiba responded. So he could continue. He's also given permission to eliminate Sasuke as a missing Nin. Naruto faced contorted in an even angrier face than before. What the hell do you mean? I'm not really sure I know myself. But I think since Sasuke has been a missing Nin for a while, that Danzo guy is now trying to finally do something about it. The orange-clad ninja grew a vein on his temple. It seemed almost as if he was about to break. Countless thoughts were running through his mind, and he really wanted to speak them a lot more freely. He was a ticking time bomb. What could he say? It just takes a small amount of air through his lungs and a violent release to ease the tension in his mind and do something about that small stress that keeps nagging him in the back of his mind. His best friend, being the enemy of Konoha, did that to him. He opened his mouth as he was about to speak. I'm going to see Danzo. Sakura grumbled while staring at Naruto. She looked him directly in the eye and wasn't leaving any room for rejection because she knew the orange-clad ninja would say the same thing. Usually when involved Sasuke, that is what occurred. Both of them were the only ones that knew more than the missing Nin side of him, so they often thought with identical ideas. Sakura did a 180 and took a turn back to Konoha. That was when Naruto grabbed her arm. Sakura, I don't think we should see Danzo, the Jinchuriki stated looking to his friend. His face was showing mixed feelings, but they also kept that depressed afterglow that seemed to emanate from his body. That same afterglow that he seemed to show all of the time ever since he defeated Pain. Naruto, we can't just let him get away with this. You know that guy is very dangerous, and you can already see what he is doing. We can't. Sakura, the orange-clad ninja, responded with a spaced-out tone. I don't think it's a good idea to see Danzo. At least, not yet. He took his grip off of her and looked into the forest. I think we should find out more about him before we try anything. We know Sai worked with him, so maybe he can tell us more? Sakura clearly took notice of this strange change that Naruto made. He didn't pitch a fit or storm off to go see Danzo himself. He actually kept a level head and thought of a way around Danzo without actually meeting him. Naruto, what are you talking about? She was clearly distressed because her team mate wasn't backing her up. We have to see Danzo. He's allowing anybody to go after Sasuke and kill him. The orange-clad ninja pondered on her statements, but quickly made a rebuttal. Just trust me, Sakura-chan. If we can't get the information from Sai, then we will see him personally. Naruto clenched his fists and grit his teeth, but still held the same tone. Believe me, I want to run over there and ask him what the hell he is thinking, but something tells me that we should wait. The pink-haired girl looked at her longtime best friend with an exasperated sigh before shaking her head. She couldn't believe it, but she also agreed that maybe they should bide their time a little longer and learn more about him before doing anything rash. Fine. Space break. Konan let go of the flap and retreated back into the tent. The silver-haired Jounin called her earlier after Naruto dashed off into the distance in search of the Godame. The blue-haired woman walked over to both of the other ninja, occupying the tent, and gave them a look of unamusement. But there was something about her face that wasn't as uninterested as it could have been yesterday. Now that all of that is settled, Kakashi began, while looking over to the woman's figure. We would like to know everything you know about Madara Uchiha. She mentally sighed, because the woman knew that this would be the first thing they would bring up. Since she blabbed about knowing who he was, the Konoha ninja didn't leave it unnoticed and brought it up the moment they had a chance. Honestly, she didn't feel like talking about it, because that man was the main reason why everything bad happened to her friends and why she was almost brought to an end. He left a bad taste in her mouth if any of the earlier reasons didn't do justice. You have been a part of Akatsuki ever since it was first founded. Kakashi started while Yamato watched in silence. And we know that you have to have some kind of information on the man behind all of this. Konan wandered her eyes over both of the men and pondered momentarily. Both men were losing patience after the first few moments. She didn't make sound. But when they started to say something, the woman spoke. That man, Madara Uchiha, was the one that started it all. Both men gazed onto the woman with eyes that almost glowed with attentiveness and further held their tongues so she could continue. During my fight with Madara, he told me that he was the one that made Yahiko form Akatsuki. He also told me that he was the one that gave Nagato the Rinnegan. That response earned a bright shock evident on both of their faces. That didn't make any sense at all. How could Madara give Nagato the Rinnegan? But I don't believe what that foul man told me. Konan came back. Nagato told me himself that he awakened his Rinnegan at an early age, which makes me disbelieve what Madara declared so recently. Kakashi looked over to Yamato, who seemed to have the same curious expression, but stayed silent for the woman. The paper user sighed as she looked to the ground. The first time I met him, I was automatically suspicious of him, although Nagato seemed to be more knowing than I was. Madara secretly made himself a part of the group, while Nagato took over as leader. He knew Yahiko wouldn't do something so evil as to try the Uchiha's plan, so he waited until the time was right. After Yahiko died, Nagato became mentally unstable at the loss of our friend and was truly susceptible to manipulation. She felt like falling. She realized that Madara used all of them just like puppets. Even she played a role in Nagato's manipulation just by following with whatever her Uzumaki friend believed in. Even though she said all of those things about how Nagato was following his own beliefs during her fight with Tobi, she was now beginning to think that they all indeed played right into the Uchiha's hands. Her fists clenched tightly, but she still held her desired monotone. He came a month or so after Nagato became the leader of Akatsuki. He didn't join our group that day, but he did say he would keep an eye on us. After that day, though, I noticed Nagato seemed to be more distant. As the months flew by, Nagato began putting his own plan of peace into motion. Gain all of the bijou, make an ultimate weapon that would make everyone too scared to fight, and unleash it to the world. After the destruction with countless lives lost, people would begin to fear, but understand not to fight anymore. A peace based on fear. So that was Nagato's plan. Kakashi responded with a serious facade while narrowing his eye. That would have been truly catastrophic. It was his plan. But the longer I think about it, the more I begin to feel that Madara maybe had something to do with that. Either way, it wasn't long until after he joined the group. He put on a new front so none of the other Akatsuki members would know who he was. The only ones who really knew were myself and Nagato. None of the other Akatsuki ever realized that the buffoon of the group was indeed the leader, except for Zetsu, although I only found out about him knowing just recently. Kakashi and Yamato nodded silently as she continued her story of Madara. Flashback. Konan, have you done what I ordered? A red-haired man with pale skin, shoulder-length red hair, and purple ripple pattern eyes asked the other person in the room. His voice was a little raspy, but normal nonetheless. His body was inside of a four-legged mechanical vehicle with his back protruding black rod shapes, and his demeanor was pretty passive as well as aggressive. They were in a room on the very top of a building in Amigakure that held a lot of space for what was needed. Yes, Nagato, I have done what you have asked of me, flawlessly. Good. The man responded calmly as he looked onto a body that was lying on the ground. You have done well. He looked onto the body, silently, while mulling over thoughts inside of his head. He just received a corpse that held the requirements needed for his subplan. His full-fledged scheme was slowly falling into place. What about the others? He asked, still glaring at the body laying on the floor. His glare held no emotion, but somehow there was something there that could have been a bit of melancholy. Konan gazed at the man with a similar glare. Other Akatsuki members are handling those as we speak. Perfect. It won't be long now, Konan, he said while turning his eyesight to the rain that pelted the window of the room. Everything is coming together nicely. If my plan works as I think it should, then our group will be unstoppable and I will finally be able to live up to Yahiko's dream. To become a god. The paper angel held no statement for Nagato while he talked. She was truly worried for her friend, but only secretly because she knew that his anger was getting the best of him. Konan placed the body on the table. I have to run the test, the red-haired man told the other occupant in the room. She nodded and picked up the body with her paper technique. With a graceful swing of her hand, she lifted the body and placed it very delicately on a surface that was similar to an operation table. After the body was deposited on the surface, the two Akatsuki members could get a better view of what the person looked like. It was a man. His face and body was quiet. The figure didn't move, which can only mean he was dead. His hair was spiky and a deep carrot orange that truly stood out. His body and limbs were punctured with multiple black rods, and even had smaller piercings that were placed on his lips, ears, and his nose. Let's begin. And with that, the red-headed man got to work by pushing his chakra from the rods on his back and into the other body that was laying on the table. The man closed his eyes and began pushing more chakra into the other body. A minute or so passed until everything became silent. Konan, feeling unsure of her best friend, called out his name, Nagato. Was it successful? Yes, Konan, it was. The man on the table replied with a strong voice, and it also has an advantage. Konan widened her eyes slightly from the man's sudden voice. The body on the table sat upwards and slowly opened his eyes. The eyes were the same as Nagato's. The orange-haired corpse unveiled light purple eyes with a ripple pattern on them, displaying 4 or 5 ringlets encasing the pupil. The man flexed his muscles and was slowly clenching and unclenching his hands as if trying to get the feel of the body. It seems my hypothesis was proven correct. These eyes have become Rinnegan. How is that possible, Nagato? The blue-haired woman responded with curiosity. Because I have fully exposed this body to my chakra. The Rinnegan is infused with my chakra, so the corpse has to compensate for the lack of my ocular ability. This body, it created its own temporary Rinnegan. Interesting. The orange-haired corpse slowly rotated his body to make his legs flop off of the table. Silence encased the room as he adjusted himself to the newfound strength. Without moving too much, he carefully pushed himself to get his feet to touch the floor. His left foot, then his right foot, until he was semi-crouching on the floor. He was shaking vigorously, but trying his hardest to adapt in his newfound body, which was proving to be rather difficult at the moment. I also can't feel anything. This body feels numb, which can only mean the nerve endings are gone. The corpse responded tiredly in between gasps for air. Do you need help, Nagato? The female Akatsuki asked the corpse in the room, who shook his head in rejection. It's all right, Konan. I can handle it. With more strength, meaning chakra, pushed into the body, the corpse was becoming increasingly stronger and eventually reached the very top of his height. His breathing became less and less strenuous as he stood there. Eventually, he looked semi-normal while he checked his body for any distress, but luckily for him, the corpse's body was doing as it should. Seeing Yahiko's body standing there left Konan feeling a little sad for good reason, and her face frowned slightly at the corpse's appearance. Don't feel sad, Konan. Nagato responded to her with a hint of sympathy, knowing what she was thinking about. Now Yahiko can become a god like he originally wanted to be. He's finally living his dream, and we are living it with him. The kunoichi still held a frown, but only temporarily as she heard someone snicker. They both averted their sight to a man behind them. He was wearing a dark robe that covered pretty much everything except for his face, but that was not needed because he wore an orange swirling mask that had one hole for his right eye to see through. You seem to be adjusting very well to your new body. I assume you're working on others? Nagato narrowed his eyes only slightly as he heard that. That is none of your business. The man only chuckled at his response and held both of his hands up. Don't worry. I'm not trying to do anything to you. I only came here to merely talk. Nagato, in Yahiko's corpse, further narrowed his eyes at the man as he stood there. This man has visited him before, so there was no reason for immediate retaliation. But even though this man visited Nagato previously, there was something about him that he didn't like. Of what? Well, the masked man started. I am impressed that you have used the Rinnegan so well. Even I wouldn't have thought of something like that. But putting that aside, I thought I could make a request. We don't take requests from outsiders. The blue-haired woman responded coldly. If you have nothing better to say, then leave. Actually, I think it would interest the both of you. The cloaked figure answered as if he knew he was right. Now, I know that you, Nagato, have an unsettled hatred with the Leaf Village as much as I do. The man's body was holding no gestures for any signs of betrayal, while Nagato inwardly flinched at the use of that village's name so freely. In exchange for my services, I only wish to help you gain the power necessary for your plan to work. See, you have nothing to lose, and you gain another formidable Akatsuki member. Nagato contemplated about it. Although he wasn't very trusting with this other person in the room, his plan would need as much help as it can get. But still, there is something about this man that seemed a little off. How can we trust you? We don't even know who you are, and yet you show up just to say that you want to be an Akatsuki. Oh, how silly of me. The masked figure chuckled as he put his hands on his mask. I haven't introduced myself yet, have I? The man tugged on his mask to release it from his face. When he did, he pulled the mask above his head and revealed his face with flaring Sharingan in both eyes. My name is Madara Uchiha. I was a former ninja of Konohagakure, but am no longer. I despise that place. Madara Uchiha. Nagato silently replied to himself. He has heard plenty of stories about this man and what he has done, but there was one problem. If my memory serves me correctly, Madara Uchiha should be long dead, but here he stands before me. How can he be alive when that generation has deceased long ago? Hehehe. Then you obviously do not know what I have done. Madara told the orange-haired corpse with a dark chuckle. You are highly underestimating the power of the Uchiha. Typical. The black-haired man then put his mask back on and quickly threw the robe's hoodie over his head. Just because you showed me who you were, that doesn't mean that I will trust you, Nagato retorted with a scowl. Konan didn't say anything, but she seemed to be along the same train of thought as the orange-haired corpse. Well then, I believe I should prove my loyalty to you. Just let me join, and I can help end those pathetic people's lives in Konoha as retribution for both of your parents' murder. How do you know about that? Nagato replied with haste and anger. The only people to have ever known about his childhood were Yahiko, Konan, Jiraiya, and Nagato himself. He never told a soul about his life as a child. Not even the Akatsuki members knew about it. The hooded man held a silent stare, but replied, I have my ways. You will tell me. The orange-haired man retorted while trying to charge the man while in Yahiko's corpse. Or I'll, NGH. He lost his footing strength a quarter the way there and kneeled to the ground, panting in pain. Nagato. The blue-haired woman ran up to her teammate to see if he was fine, but he bumped her off of him with his elbow. I'm fine, Konan. He panted while staring angrily at the man. You're in no shape to fight me right now, and I would strongly advise against it, Madara replied while turning to head out of the door. Either way, I'll give you some time to think about it. If I were you, though, I'd take the offer while it's on the table. It's not every day someone like me offers help for free. He turned his head one final time and flared his Sharingan through his eye hole in the mask. I'll be waiting. And with that, he disappeared down the hall, with his footsteps reverberating from the walls until the only thing that could be heard was the slow panting of Yahiko's corpse. After they were sure Madara was gone, Konan tried to help her friend up, but was refused as he shook her hand off his arm. Don't worry. I know you're worried about me, but I'm fine. She only looked in his direction in a concerned manner. Are you going to let him join us? I don't know, Nagato replied solemnly. If he can truly aid me, then I will have no choice but allow him into Akatsuki. Every person is vital, but you can't possibly trust that man. Can you, Nagato? No, I don't, but the organization has to move forward, and that means the leader has to make hasty decisions. Another moment passed before Nagato said anything. Since I will be using this body, I have to use another name. A new name that people will fear when they hear it. Nagato replied, while walking over to a table that held a folded fabric on the top. It was as if he didn't want to talk about Madara. After unfolding it, he began to put his arms into it and let the rest make its way to the floor. It was a black cloak with recently stitched red and white clouds. These clouds on our new cloaks will symbolize all of the bloodshed during the wars in Amagakure. Our group will bring true peace, and no one will dare to surpass us, for we are Akatsuki. He then put on a rain hitei that had a horizontal slash through the middle of the metal plate and tied it into a knot. Pain is the source of every war, every hatred, and every vengeance. That will be my new name, Pain. In flashback, Sai, we were just looking for you. A pink-haired ninja yelled while running toward her teammate. He appeared to have short black hair and black ninja gear that revealed his lower abdomen. He noticed his teammates coming closer and decided to stop his pace. Naruto came up rather quickly. I wanted to ask you something. What is it? The pale boy asked curiously. We want to know more about Danzo. The kunoichi replied with anger tinted in her voice. The boy looked at his teammates skeptically before uttering a sound. I can't. That answer infuriated them. Was their friend hiding something about that man? Could they have really trusted someone who wouldn't even tell them the truth? What? Why not? Are you taking his side? The pink-haired ninja retorted with her orange-haired companion. No, it's not that. Sai felt a bit overwhelmed and threw his hands up in defense. I literally can't talk about him. Because of this, his mouth opened and revealed something that astounded the both of them. A seal? Sakura asked while gazing in concern. On Sai's tongue was a vertically running set of black rectangles through the middle of his tongue and 4 separated smaller rectangles branching from those near the end of his tongue. Yeah, Danzo puts it on all of the Foundation members, he said with a simple conviction. And if I try to talk about him, my whole body will become paralyzed and I'll be unable to move or talk. Sakura's face etched itself into worry. He's really cautious. Danzo and the Foundation are top secret. Sai replied in seriousness. We've done a lot of dirty deeds to protect the village. And so that no information gets out, he puts these seals on us that prevent us from talking. Not even the most trained interrogators can get us to break. But how can Danzo do that to his own men? I don't get it. Sakura said with interest. Sai looked over to her and responded, You may not like how he does things, but that is how he has protected Konoha all of these years. In his own way, he really cares about the village. Well, what about Sasuke? She yelled rather violently. He went back on Tsunade's promise about killing Sasuke, and is now letting anyone get the chance to kill him. He astounded the black-haired boy. Oh, really? I didn't hear anything about that. CHK. A metallic sound dropped their reactions and caused them to gain a look at new entities approaching their right. Tell me everything you know about Sasuke, since he seems to be a friend of yours. A woman with a bandana Kumobikure headband wrapped around her dark red hair pointed her single-edged blade at Team 7 with a look that meant business. The blade gleamed with an impeccable sheen that meant she must have kept her sword clean at all times. Reacting on instinct, Naruto grabbed the closest thing he could find, which was size small blade, and popped the Cloud Ninja's sword out of its stance with a swift strike, momentarily stunning the ninja. Without stopping his momentum, he tried to elbow the woman in the face, but was interjected with the hilt of the other Cloud Ninja's blade. The woman quickly rolled her back on the other Cloud Ninja's back to do another attack. The man shouted a reminder about not hurting the Leaf Ninja, and the woman reacted by twisting her blade backwards. But before she could do a hit on the opposing Leaf Nin, a shadow clone popped up in front of her blade, grasping it tightly and making sure it didn't go anywhere. Sakura rushed into the fight along with Sai, as they both tried to counter with their teammate, but the male Kumonin jump kicked the pink-haired team member, sending her skidding across the dirt. The orange-clad shadow clone ran over to help Sakura as she kept sliding and went to her aid. Bouncing off of her teammate, the Kumo Kunoichi elbowed Naruto in the neck, causing the Kawarimi's shadow clone to dispel and reaching an impasse in the fight. "What are you doing?" Naruto said with anger while helping his pink-haired friend. After getting a better look at the enemies, everyone realized that they were Kumo Ninja. Kumobikure Ninja? "What are you doing here? You were talking about Sasuke." The male Kumo Ninja said while pointing at the opposing team. "Tell us about him. What does he have to do with you?" The male Kumo Ninja grew a vein in his temple and threw his index finger to the one asking. "He has everything to do with us. Uchiha Sasuke is the one who attacked our village. That missing ninja took our master, and we don't even know if he is dead or alive." The red-headed Kumo female said while swinging her arm through the air. Sakura was confused. Why would Sasuke do something like that? How should we know what Akatsuki wants? Naruto's eyebrow raised slightly at hearing the word Akatsuki somehow being related to Sasuke. What? What do you mean Akatsuki? Are you serious? The redhead fired back. Sasuke is a member of Akatsuki. Naruto's heart sank after hearing that. Sasuke has really stooped so low as to join the group that is after him. Why was he doing these things? What could have made him possibly turn so bad? After contemplating for a little longer, he spoke again. "Are you sure it's really him?" "Yeah." They both responded while the redhead continued. "He was wearing the Uchiha crest, and the description matched up with him too. Is he a host just like me?" Both Kumo Ninja froze a tad and could only say one thing. "Yeah. But you're a Jinchuriki too?" "Yes," Naruto replied with seriousness in his voice. "And Akatsuki is going after all of us. They need us alive, so your master may still be alive and well." "What?" They both responded in shock. They obviously didn't know that the Akatsuki had certain plans that require the host to remain intact for a short amount of time. "Yeah," he replied while walking over to them. "You need to go and save your master before you go after Sasuke. And I'll tell you what, I'll also help you look for him and tell you everything I know about Akatsuki." "Good thinking, Carrot Top," the redhead responded while pointing her blade, "but don't forget to tell us about Sasuke." "Naruto," a concerned voice called from his left. "Don't worry, Sakura-chan," the orange-haired Jinchuriki said. "Leave everything to me." "Space break. This seems like a good place to me," a female voice replied while grabbing someone and throwing them onto a wall rather forcefully and pushing her arm into his throat, causing him to choke. "Now tell us everything about Sasuke." Naruto told his team mates that he would escort the Kumo Ninja and tell them what they needed to know. Unfortunately, it was never Naruto's plan to tell them about Sasuke. He just wanted to get far enough away from his teammates so they wouldn't hear him and the other ninja doing business, because he had a good feeling that it would probably end up to that effect. He led them to a secluded building in the middle of the woods where they could talk in private. The red-headed ninja wasn't in the mood for games, and she really wanted to get to the bottom of things. Her rendition of what happened was that Killer Bee was taken captive by Sasuke while Bee was momentarily away. It wasn't really a good thing since he was one of the last Jinchuriki that were still alive. There had to be further explanations as to where he could have gone and what the Akatsuki were doing with him, and she felt that Naruto maybe knew more than he was letting on, which was true in a way. "I can't," the orange-headed ninja responded while gazing to the ground. "I can't betray him." "What?" She growled as her teeth clenched shut. You bastard. How can you say something like that now? Naruto formed his hands into fists as he remembered the times when Sasuke was around, and throughout the things Nagato and Minato told him. I know it's selfish, but I can't sell him out. She further pushed her forearm into his throat, hoping it would increase her odds of revealing information. Bastard. Listen, Naruto choked. I understand that you want revenge, but if you let hatred run rampant and it kills Sasuke, then my friends might not let it go as easily as you can. His voice was becoming raspy, but it still held its determination. Then they will someday get their own revenge, and it will keep going. Friends we were supposed to protect will end up killing each other. So, what should we do with our hatred? The blonde Kumo ninja replied, as if it were the #1 question. How are you going to make it up to us? The Jinchuriki sighed once as he thought about it. He knew this moment would come, but he didn't know just how soon it would. His only resolve to the situation was in his next words. Hit me as much as you want. That's all I can. Bam! The redhead's fist connected with his face, causing a multitude of cracking sounds and sounds of skin connecting with skin. The force of the punch was too great and made Naruto fall over just from the momentum that was injected throughout his body. That's a little too convenient, don't you think? You really think that it will work? Then let's try it then. Her fists came crashing down upon the Jinchuriki as he laid there, defenseless by his own will. His face and ribs were taking a total beating. Little did they know that they had someone secretly watching them in the shadows from a tree. Sai held out and came back to see if Naruto was really going to be okay, but it turned out that he was getting a beating and didn't look like it would stop anytime soon. He could feel anger building from inside of him the longer he saw his helpless team mate getting beaten to a bloody pulp. After another minute or so, the woman stopped momentarily to gain her breath. She was clearly tired, but she knew that she had to do what it took for Killer Bee to be safe. Naruto slowly regained his footing as he panted in distress, but still held the fire in his eye that wasn't swollen shut. I'm telling you, the redhead shouted again, no amount of me beating you to death will make me feel any better. I won't stop hitting you until you tell me about Sasuke. Her fist came for another swing, and Sai took all he could take at this scene. Sai began to run. If you lay one more hand on Naruto-kun, I will kill you. Sai blinked momentarily as he stopped in his tracks. Another person intervened in the fight before the Team 7 member could react. The person had an orange flower wrapped into her hair, which was a faded light blue color, and her whole figure appeared to be encased in papers. Not only that, but the red-headed Kumo woman seemed to be connected by papers from her arm to the defender's arm by the defending paper technique, almost as if their arms were fused together. That wasn't the thing that made the air cold and stiff. No, it was the facial features that the leaf kunoichi etched onto her face that could literally kill someone if it were possible. Her amber eyes were half-lidded and held no mercy, which meant that she had seen more than any other could possibly imagine. Her mouth was formed into a razor-like frown as her papers scattered in the wind around her figure. Make one subtle move, and I won't hesitate. You will fall where you stand. Naruto looked in front of him to see who stopped the punch and was all out surprised at who he found defending him. Konan-chan. I should have known that would turn into an interrogation, Konan thought as she walked through the dusty dirt path. But they received what they were after, I hope. Konan was in search of Naruto, but didn't know where to look. She already searched the village and asked other ninja of his whereabouts, but none of them knew. One person said he saw him a couple of hours earlier, but that didn't matter because Konan was with him during that time. People really knew how to be clueless at times. I will probably never find him now. He could be anywhere. Her thoughts began to worm their way onto what happened just a couple of hours earlier. He looked so much like him, and just when I thought it was just a fluke that we were brought together. She combed her hair with her slender fingers as she thought about it all. The similarities were astounding. It was as if the boy was unknowingly turning into someone to prove a point to Konan. She didn't really need any more proof after what happened the night before. When she poured her heart all over the blonde, now orange-haired, boy's shirt, she then realized that maybe he could truly change everything without a doubt in her mind. If he could give at least that much comfort for the woman who would never let anyone do something as have someone lend a shoulder to cry on, then maybe she could trust him. But after seeing a recognizable hair color that she knew all too well, It set her thoughts in stone about who he truly was. The chosen one. That was when a bright shade of pink caught her eye. The pinkette was roaming up the pathway with a concerned look over something, and Konan was curious. She had read up on this girl while she was still in Akatsuki and also realized that she was a friend of Naruto's. That girl. Excuse me, Sakura-san, is it? The one in question looked up from her daze and saw the jounin in front of her with a semi-concerned stare, which was peculiar. Sakura didn't really like Konan for the simple fact of being an Akatsuki, but with her leaf jounin status and Naruto's approval of who she was as a human being, then she learned to deal with that little nagging voice. Yes, my name is Sakura. You're Konan, right? Yes. The jounin responded with finality. You're Naruto-san's friend? Am I correct? Sakura stared at her impassively, but only briefly as she wondered what the woman wanted. Yeah. Why do you ask? Konan breathed a sigh of relief. I was looking for Naruto-san. He left Kakashi-san's tent to look for the Go Dame while I was under an interrogation, and after all of this happened, I haven't been able to find him. Do you know where he is? Sakura grit her teeth only slightly as she heard whom the woman was asking for. Why are you looking for him? I just have something that I need to discuss with him. It involves his Kekii Genkai. The pink-haired girl lowered her eyes, but only for a moment. It was as if she was contemplating something. She then lifted her head. He's talking to a couple of Kumo ninja just down this path. Konan brightened up slightly after hearing his location. She had been searching for him for the last half hour and finally found out where he had been the entire time. Thank you, Sakura-san, she replied while bowing. You have saved me a lot of trouble. She gave Sakura a nod and a slight smile, departing around the pink-haired girl's right. I know what you're doing. Konan slowed to a stop, and it's not going to work. Sakura angled her eyebrows in anger as she turned her head just enough to view Konan. Naruto is not going to change, no matter what you do to him. The jounin turned around to see a tempered Sakura staring at her. The look in Sakura's eyes was cold, as if she had some unsettled emotion with the blue-haired woman. Konan could only look in slight confusion at her words. Sakura-san, whatever you think I am doing to Naruto-san, I'm in. Save it. The pink-haired girl replied, narrowing her eyes. I know you have some plan to make Naruto see Pain's way of peace. It will never happen. Naruto is far stronger than you think he is. He knows what is right and what is wrong, and he will see through your lies. Sakura then turned her head forward and gazed outward as Konan frowned. She didn't have any rebuttal and only fell silent, turning around and continuing her journey to find Naruto. It was always impossible to talk to someone who misunderstood. Sakura only heard footsteps slowly dissipating as she stood there. A lone tear fell from her face while she breathed in and out softly. Space break. Konan spent another 5 minutes searching for Naruto as she walked the path. She was thinking of what Sakura thought about her intentions. Konan was going to do no such thing. Her mind changed the day she left the hollowed paper tree. If Nagato believed in Naruto, then she would too. Those plans for the Jinchuriki were left the day Nagato died. She had no real use for any Jinchuriki as she was not in any foul temper with the rest of the world. She just wanted to live and let live, but sometimes it became impossible if others didn't see it the same way. It wasn't until she came over a hill when she heard a scuffle and some shouting from a female. There was a wooden shack that was hidden pretty well in the woods, but she could see it. That's where most of the noise was coming from. The shack was decrepit, and the sounds didn't sound like they were coming from the inside. She decided to investigate. She made sure to keep a quiet foot and lower her chakra signature as she crept around the trees, trying to stay hidden. She came upon a tree and got a slight view of what was going on. There was a red-headed female ninja along with a blonde-headed, dark-skinned male ninja. She assumed they were teammates. The female was huffing as she took a breather and rested her palms on her knees. She was out of breath, but didn't look like she was ready to quit anytime soon. I'm telling you, no amount of me beating you to death will make me feel better. So she was beating somebody senseless. It was obviously 1 against 2 as she sat there and observed. I won't stop hitting you until you tell me about Sasuke. That name alerted her to something. She was very positive that not many Leaf Village ninja knew about Sasuke, since he has been a missing nin for quite some time. That only left her to ponder a little quicker as in whom they were beating up. It wasn't until the gleam from their headbands caught her attention and she went on full alert. Kimo ninja. Then that must mean she moved her position only slightly to try and get a better view of whom they were fighting. That was the moment she saw orange and black clothing. Only one person wore clothes like that. Naruto. Something happened to Konan when she saw him that way. She didn't know what it was, but it felt like something breaking inside of her. Then a heat rose from her stomach as she stared a little longer. The Kimo Kunoichi came for another full swing as she tried to match her target with her fist, but everything froze as a blue-haired woman entered the fight. She rushed no faster than the Flying Thunder God technique itself as she intercepted the punch with her paper technique. If you lay one more hand on Naruto-kun, I will kill you. She slowly raised her head up to reveal two dull amber eyes. Her eyelids were lowered with fury as she stared at the red-headed Kimo female. Make one subtle move, and I won't hesitate. You will fall where you stand. Konan-chan, Naruto replied as he lifted his head at the sudden interjection the blue-haired woman made. What the hell? The female Kimo ninja responded as she noticed her entire arm encased in papers and frozen stiff. Naruto-kun, you don't have to tell these Kimo ninja anything, Konan told Naruto with intensity, and you don't have to put up with them anymore. They will answer to me. Naruto, baffled at what was going on, tried to string coherent thoughts together, but then realized something, getting up to speak with a stiff jaw. Konan-chan, leave them alone. This is my fight. Naruto-kun, she replied with a little anger. You don't understand. I have to protect you. If I can't fulfill my duty of protecting the one who will change the world, then what good am I? Protect me? Naruto thought silently, but those thoughts were cut off as the Kimo ninja interrupted. I know you. The female Kimo ninja responded after a quick thought and got angered even more. You're an Akatsuki member. Why are you wearing a leaf headband? I am no longer a part of that terrible group, Konan stated as she looked the other female in the eye. That group no longer serves its original purpose, and I have no interest in obtaining any Jinchuriki. My only goal now is to protect Naruto. Do you expect us to believe that? The female Kimonin responded with venom. Once an Akatsuki member, always an Akatsuki member. I don't care what you believe. It is the truth, Konan responded while tightening the papers around the Cloud Ninja's hand, who began groaning from the pressure. If you don't want a crushed hand, then I suggest that you cease your squabble with Naruto-kun. The Kimo ninja tried to struggle free once more, but relented and relaxed her posture as she stood there, putting her other hand up in surrender. She knew that she wasn't strong enough to go against an Akatsuki member, even if she was an ex-member. She was here to find information, not to fight the Leaf, damn it. So, why are you helping the Leaf Village? The male Cloud Ninja asked as he spoke up for the first time. It is unusual for an Akatsuki member to be so generous. Konan chose her words carefully while releasing the paper technique on the Kimo Kunoichi's hand. Because I have an unpaid debt and I wish to return it. No matter what it takes, she glanced at Naruto while he looked on in silence. Omoy, Karui, did you get any information? A blonde-headed, big-busted woman asked as she jumped down from a tree. Oh, Captain Samui. The redhead replied in shock. I didn't realize you were here. The blonde captain eyed Naruto with a studious gaze. Are you causing trouble again, Karui? The one known as Samui asked the other female Cloud Ninja, who only looked down. But Captain Samui, that woman was an Akatsuki member, Karui yelled as she pointed over to Konan. Samui watched as the blue-haired woman knelt beside Naruto with a frown on her face, while trying to figure out how bad the damage was that he was dealt. It doesn't seem like she's a threat, Samui brought up, and plus, she is a Leaf Ninja now. If we try to take her in, it would only cause problems for our village, she mentioned while noticing Konan's attire and leaf headband. But she's right, Karui, Omoy stated as he looked over to both Leaf Ninja. We don't have the proper authority to take a Leaf Ninja prisoner. We will just have to wait. Man, Raikage is not going to like that. Karui huffed as she turned her view away from her group and looked over to Konan. Konan-chan, I'm fine. But Naruto, you can't stay here like this. Look, I'm fine. I'm the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, he replied as he tried to stand. See? Nothing to NGH. He then slumped as Konan tried to help keep him standing by wrapping his arm around her shoulder. Karui only watched them in silence as her angry features dropped a little, probably from thought more than anything else. If we haven't found anything by now, then we need to gather information from their archives, Sammy replied while looking to her teammates. We don't want the same thing happening to Killer Bee as did to Yujito-san. Once we're done with that, we're going to take whatever information we have and give it to Lord Raikage. I'm sure with everything they have, we will find some intel useful. Hey, take me to the Raikage. Naruto started as he gained the attention of the Kyumo ninja. I want to speak with him personally. Sammy contemplated for a moment before responding. She heard many villagers talk about Naruto Uzumaki, and she heard many good things about him. But even though she heard all of those encouraging things that gained her trust, she still couldn't give him clearance. I can't give you a proper pass to see the Raikage. Without many guards watching over him, and us not knowing who you are nonetheless, we can't allow that. The Jinchuriki frowned once he heard that. He was almost sad about it. Omoi Karui, let's go. We have a lot to write down, Sammy said while jumping back into the tree. Omoi left with her, and Karui gave one more stare to the Leaf Ninja before she followed suit. Once they were gone, Naruto fell silent. A forlorn look etched across his face while he stood with Konan. He was stuck again. It was getting harder to protect his only brother. Come on, Konan replied to Naruto with a slight smile, snapping him out of his daze. Let's get you patched up. Space break. Konan and Naruto made their way to his apartment. It only took a few minutes because the path ran straight to their end of town. Once they came up to his home, Naruto pulled out his key and fumbled with it until Konan took it from his hand and unlocked the door. Naruto was lightly startled at her for grabbing the key from him, but he realized that it was just easier that she did it instead of him. He already had one eye swollen shut, so his depth perception was getting the better of him. Konan opened the door and walked inside with Naruto's arm still over her shoulder. Then with a light push, she closed the door with a simple click. They walked over to his couch, and Konan placed him on the far right end. Konan walked away for a few moments and left Naruto to himself. After another minute or two, she came back out with multiple supplies in her hands. Bandages, patches, and ointment were just a few things the Jinchuriki could see in her hands. Naruto looked at her with sadness. Konan-chan, you don't have to do this for me, the orange-haired boy replied while looking down to the floor. I can get Kakashi-sensei or side of hell. No, the paper angel replied abruptly while casting a similar glare to the ground before turning her eyes to face him. I can do this for you. You've already done enough for me. I can't even pay you back a fraction for what you did. But I didn't even save Nagato from Madara. Naruto responded, letting his eyes lose their luster. I'm so useless and stupid. I didn't even give a second to realize that I could have saved Nagato's body from that bastard. Naruto clenched his hands on his pants as he glared at his tight fists. I could have saved his body and protected his Rinnegan. I didn't even come early enough to save you from getting beaten to death. Aiku. Naruto's eyes widened as he felt something wrap around him. It was Konan. She wrapped him into a hug with her arms going around his neck. Naruto tensed for a moment before soaking in the hug. She came to his ear and spoke lightly. Naruto, you're not useless. You have done many things that even I couldn't or wouldn't do. She pulled out of the chaste hug and looked at him with her hands resting on his shoulders. Even if you couldn't save Nagato's body from Madara, you did save me. I think that counts. So what if you didn't come earlier? You came when I needed you the most and saved me from my imminent death. Her eyes lowered as she spoke about the fight. I really thought I was done for when he cast that Jinjutsu on me with that horrid Sharingan. Flashback. Before she could finish her sentence, the evil man placed a death grip on her neck. You didn't think I let you do something like that, did you? She could feel the life slowly fading from her body as Madara continued talking. I will wilt your flowers of hope and fade the bridge to oblivion. When I am finished with this jutsu, your life will be no more, but before I do that, you will show me where he lies. She dared to look into the man's eye as the jutsu took place. And no, I can't. No. Before she knew it, the world changed into something a lot more bleak, and everything faded. There was nothing but blackness and silence as she lay there, or she felt like she was lying, but couldn't really tell. Emptiness kept sight from her. She tried to sit up, but couldn't really move and just decided to lie there. That was when there was a small flashback of the battle that had just taken place. It was more like it was going in slow motion this time, all the way until he grabbed her by the throat and gazed at her with an eye full of hatred, and then it restarted again and again, showing the same thing all the way until he glared at her with a Sharingan. Was that really how it was supposed to end? She thought as she laid there unmoving. Nagato will never be saved now. I can't protect him. Why am I so weak? She clenched her hands, or felt like she wanted to, and cried silently without any feeling of wetness on her face. My only hope lies in Naruto now. He will bring that man to his end. I just know it. He is the true embodiment of light itself. After she said that, a small light peered through the darkness. It was a pinpoint hole, but it was extremely bright. She looked at it curiously and tried to get up to get to it. What was the light? Why is it there? With every fiber of strength she had, she slowly got up. More or less, she willed herself to get up. Nothing was going to keep her down. She was trained that way. She began to walk, or felt like she was walking anyway, to the light. She walked for what she guessed was 5 minutes, but the light still didn't get any bigger. It scared her that maybe she wasn't ever going to reach the brightness. She started running to it, trying to get closer in every way she can. Then she stopped a few more minutes later and fell to her knees. She started sobbing again. Was this some kind of sick joke? Was some god trying to play with her and her emotions? No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't get any closer to the bright light in the distance. She couldn't take it. She was in all actuality a very feeble-minded girl. She was scared and felt alone. This was who she was. The cold outer shell and everything she was before was stripped away from her. This was her true form. I knew it. I'm pathetic. I can't do anything right. Why is everything so difficult? Konan pounded her fist on the black surface she was sitting on and brought her knees to her shoulders and wrapped her arms around them. Resting her head on her knees, I should just die alone. A couple of moments later, a figure placed his hand on her shoulder. Hey, Konan-san, you shouldn't give up. Konan slowly raised her head up and revealed puffy eyes and cheeks. But it wasn't the Konan everyone now knew. This Konan took the form of her 12-year-old self in an oversized Akatsuki outfit. She looked up and widened her eyes at who she saw. Naruto-san? The figure looked down at her with a wide but warm grin. He was a golden color with a golden cloak with bright golden flames that danced around his form. He also bore black tattoo, like designs on his torso, that was unknown to Konan. Of course, she recognized him entirely once she saw the whisker marks etched on his face. I know you want to just forget everything, and I understand that, but if you do that, then you will never know what will be in store for you, he replied warmly. Konan looked at him for a moment before responding. His presence was astounding. She had never seen him like that before. His appearance was calming away as well, because only a few moments ago she was so tired of it all. But now it was as if something was different. But Naruto-san, how am I supposed to have anything in store for me? I died. He used his Sharingan on me. The blue-haired girl replied in question and looked like she was going to choke on tears again. Naruto placed his hand to his chin as if in thought. Yeah, I suppose you're right. You seem to be in a pretty bad situation. That's what I thought. Konan replied in anger. You don't even know how I will ever live again. I knew I should have never believed in you. You're just a big fake who never knew the realities of life. Naruto stood there silently as he took in all of her insults. He looked at her with an impassive face. I never knew you thought that about me. Konan cried to herself as she sat there. If you truly feel that way about me, then I guess I will just... No, please stay here. I'm sorry, Naruto-san. I don't know what to do, she replied, making Naruto stop midway in his turnaround. Naruto walked over to her with his brightened aura following him. Konan-san, you are a strong woman. You already know what you must do. You knew the entire time. Konan looked back up at the now grinning Naruto and pondered momentarily. What did he mean she already knew? Unless I should help to defeat Madara. Naruto gave her a wider grin that turned into a foxy smile. Exactly. Did you think I could kick his butt without you? You know everything about him. You know his moves, his weaknesses, and what he is planning. If you weren't around, I don't think I could do it on my own. Besides, we're best friends now, aren't we? Konan thought about his statements. Friends. She thought of the alliance as nothing more than a bond of countries, not a friendship with Naruto. Could they really be friends? She smiled at the thought. Another friend. Now, Naruto started as he held out his hand. Are you going to mope around, or are you going to help me give this guy Fegi yak kicking that he deserved a long time ago? That statement took Konan aback for a moment before she broke out into the warmest smile she ever had in a while. Sure, Naruto-kun, let's do it. She grabbed his hand as he lifted her up to her feet. Naruto made a mad dash towards the light while Konan ran side by side with him. The further they ran, the closer the light was coming. Konan slowly changed to her adult self with each step she took as they slowly picked up their pace by moving faster and faster. The light was looming ever closer as Naruto looked over to her and responded with a determined smile. Don't worry, Konan-chan. I will help you every step of the way. We will do this together. I promise. Konan returned a smile, and a light nod at her friend as they gained even more speed that was fast enough to break the sound barrier. Suddenly, they came to the giant light as it encased both of them and consumed their masses. There was darkness yet again. It was so dark before, but this time, it wasn't as bad. She could feel an aching on her body. It was aching all over. There was a booming sound, and something kept hitting her face. It was a feeling she knew was familiar. Her body felt like it was rocking in a jagged motion, and a faint hissing sound eventually turned into what sounded like water pelting on water. And before she knew it, cough cough, a violent coughing session was ensuing. She coughed a multitude of times as water spewed from her mouth with a light mixture of blood that trickled down the side of her lips. After she calmed down a little, she opened her eyes blearily to see a gray canopy overhead, which turned out to be clouds when she focused a little more. Raindrops were dripping on her face one at a time as she angled her head to see where she was. The ocean. I'm alive, she spoke quietly, but how's that possible? She lazily glared down at the hole in her chest that was supposed to make her bleed out, but yet nothing seemed to be coming out. It's healed? I don't understand. She slowly got up to her feet, which turned out to be a little simpler than she thought it would be, although she did have a splitting headache after standing up on the water with the water walking technique. After regaining her bearings, she realized where she was and what she needed to do. Nagato. I have to protect his body. I just hope I'm not too late. With a small limp, she began running towards the secret place that she hid Nagato's body in. I promise, Nagato, I will keep you safe. In flashback, I just don't know how I survived that day. Konan replied while bandaging his torso. It was truly a miracle that I was ever able to live again. His attack should have killed me, but yet it didn't. Naruto looked down in thought as he mulled over everything she said to him. It seemed to surprise him as well. He very well knew that an Uchiha placing a Jinjutsu on someone was devastating and deadly, after having seen Itachi place Kakashi in Tsukuyomi. It shouldn't have even been possible for her to survive it. Yeah, Naruto-san, if you weren't there when I was fending off Madara, I could have very well lived up to the expectation of his outcome to the Jinjutsu. Naruto curled his lips upwards as he saw her smile at him. It wasn't a fake smile. It was actually genuine. Don't worry, Abu, YOW, it's tender there. He groaned as he looked at her with squinted eyes. Oh, sorry, Naruto-san. Konan said with worry that she may have put too much pressure. Yeah, it's no big deal, Konan-chan, he replied with a half-lit smile. Konan felt a little strange after she heard that response. It was a weird feeling, and in a way, it felt familiar. After a few moments of silence, the Jinchuriki became concerned. Is something wrong, Konan-chan? She quickly snapped from her thoughts as she looked to Naruto. No, nothing is wrong. I am fine. Naruto contemplated, but took the statement at face value. After another moment of rapping, Naruto felt a little uncomfortable with their close proximity to each other, but breathed a mental sigh of relief as she finally finished his chest area. It was unusual for him to have someone virtually unknown to him invading his personal space. He didn't really mind it because he knew that she was trying to help, but it really surprised him just how much it bothered him. Okay, Naruto-san, lift up your arm for me as good as you can, so I can wrap it, came the gentle tone of Konan's voice. Naruto did as he was told and roughly lifted his arm. It was really sore from the encounter earlier that day with the Kumo ninja. That woman really knew how to pack a punch. She really beat the shit out of me, Naruto thought with a groan. He knew he was going to get hit, but he didn't think that it would hurt this much. The orange-haired boy tensed as he felt the gauze wrap around his arm. It started at his shoulder as Konan worked her way down his arm. She still had plenty of wrap to go through as she continued wrapping lower and lower. Then another strange sensation occurred. "What is this feeling?" Konan asked in confusion. It kept hitting her. It was as if she was forgetting something and had it on her tongue. She couldn't for the life of her realize why she was feeling this unusual sense. She only sighed as she kept wrapping his arm, delicately overlapping so she wouldn't mess up and have to start over again. Naruto was feeling awkward with the unbearable silence, so he started up again. It seemed that Konan was feeling down about something, and it made him feel a little sad. So he figured that he could maybe tell her a joke to ease the tension that had fallen ever since she started on his arm. "Hey, Konan-chan, I think teach guy ah." Konan looked up with widened eyes. She shot her eyes over to her teammate. He seemed to be experiencing pain again as she continued to bandage his arm. She stopped immediately as she sat there and stared at him. There was something that she had to get off of her chest. She was facing problems with her feelings for another shinobi. They were friends since they were young, and he was always there for her when she was down. Of course, he was an immature boy when he was younger, but he grew into something that she greatly admired. He saved her plenty of times, but they were always doing missions, and she couldn't let her affections be known. There was too much going on during the time to allow any of that to happen. Her feelings grew over the years as they continued protecting each other and getting to know each other better. Yahiko was her very best friend that she ever had. Of course, she really liked Nagato too, but she just didn't feel the same way with him. He was always one of her best friends, but she didn't have romantic feelings for him. There was something about Yahiko that made her choose him. Maybe it was his ability to become a leader. She wasn't going to wait any longer. She had been waiting to do this her entire life. She was going to do it and throw all caution to the wind. She just hoped to God that he felt the same way for her. It actually made her nervous, but she couldn't show it, so she tried her best to put up a decent front. She slowly wormed her way past his leg while staring intently into his eyes. He would only look at her in shock as she crept closer to him by having one leg between his legs and one on the outside. Her face came closer and closer to his as she brought her courage forward. The butterflies started setting in as she could feel his breath softly blow onto her skin. She couldn't stop now because they were so close already. She hit the point of no return. Surprisingly enough to her, he didn't seem to be rejecting her as he sat there dumbfounded by her advance. She was only 2 inches away from his face as she closed her eyes. She edged slower and slower until she finally encountered resistance as her lips pushed against his. An instant spark shot from her mouth and radiated throughout her body as she kissed the one that she loved the entire time. It was something that she hoped for the entire time. It made her feel, in a way, complete with herself. The kiss soon heated up as Konan tried to apply her tongue to the equation. The recipient offered no resistance as he let her enter into his mouth and added his own as well. This kiss made her realize that she really did love this man. This kiss made her understand why everything happened the way it did. This kiss was, in Conan's point of view, perfect. Soon, Konan stopped the kiss as she came out of it for air. Her eyes were still closed as she basked in the recent sensation that came before her. She didn't have anything to say about it. She was content. She finally saw that everything wasn't just one-sided, that he also liked her as well. It was a good feeling to be kissed, one that she wanted to experience again and again. "Hey, Konan-chan." The blue-haired woman opened her eyes slowly as she looked into her lover's eyes. His eyes were widened as a blush stretched all the way across his face. He never underwent anything like that before. It was his first time. "Konan-chan, I didn't." The woman he was referring to came off of her happiness that etched across her face and soon turned it into a face of utter shock. She was speechless. How could something like this happen? What she had done was unimaginable, unthinkable. Her breathing trembled as she tried to speak coherently, but it was turning out to be a bit harder than she thought. We, Naruto-san," Konan said as her face flushed from a moment. She slowly tried to back away from Naruto's face as her butterfly feelings came back. She couldn't believe it. One thing that she never would have thought would happen in a million years had actually taken place right before her eyes. She kissed Naruto. It was a winter evening during their voyage. It has been a week since they left Konoha. Naruto departed with Kakashi and Yamato, with Konan trailing a little further behind than usual. They were in search of a particular person and didn't have time to waste. Every second counted. KK Kakashi-sensei, how much longer do you think it will be before we reach there? I'm freezing my Giotto off, Naruto replied through chattering teeth. The Jounin could only sigh as he watched his student wrap his stiff limbs around himself, rubbing his arms furiously to stop the cold chill. Not much further, Naruto. We will be there by tomorrow afternoon. Naruto whined about that, because that was still a day away. Oh, how he wished he were under a heat lamp or a fireplace, or just being back in plain old Konoha with sweltering heat. He would rather have anything except the cold. He did host the QB. They continued running and jumping as the sun slowly set in the sky. Naruto looked from the corner of his eye and saw Konan. She was keeping a much longer distance than she normally would away from the boy. On top of that, she hasn't even spoken a word to him during the entire trip. If anything was said, she only spoke one-word sentences that usually agreed or disagreed. If Naruto tried to say something to her, she would turn her head and avoid eye contact. It was something that Naruto became worried about. I wonder if it has something to do about the time she kissed me. Naruto thought silently as he continued looking at Konan through his peripheral. She was still avoiding his gaze, as if she knew he was watching, although the look on her face told him that she also seemed to be deep in thought. Flashback. Everything came to a screeching halt as Konan absorbed exactly what happened. Silence encased the room as she slowly backed away from Naruto's face. She couldn't believe that she could do something like that. How could she be so careless? Both of their faces matched each other's as shock set in the both of them. We, Naruto-san. The blue-haired woman responded with a lump in her throat. How could she do this? She did the one thing that she never would have thought in a million years she would do. She kissed Naruto. How can that even be possible? Even the thought of doing that to the boy was unreal. So how did it come to pass? Both of their faces were flushed, and there was an obvious reason why, but neither could speak their own opinion. There were many things wrong with this picture, and Konan could name them off automatically. If this was Konan a month ago in this situation, she would have left an impassive face and automatically told him it was nothing, unless she just didn't allow herself to get into that position at all back then. Then again, the only other way she could have gotten this way back then would be if she were about to trick someone and kill them in order to get information for the Akatsuki. But that was then. Now it was as if she was jumbled and mix-matched. On top of that, she was even blushing. She hasn't blushed since the day she professed her love by kissing Yahi. Konan immediately jumped off of Naruto and ran outside of his house, slamming his front door behind her. Naruto tried to call her back, but she ignored him, completely fleeing the scene. As Naruto sat down, the earlier moment's activity sat in his brain. Placing 2 fingers to his mouth in awe, it was as if he was trying to feel the same sensation he had when their lips met one another's. She kissed me. I don't understand. He continued questioning the reason behind it. Why did she kiss me? Space break. Konan ran to the forest and continued running until civilization was harder to see. She didn't want anyone to notice her in such a vulnerable state. People could be very cruel to someone like her. She kept sprinting at full speed before she tripped on a root and fell to the ground with a loud thud. She completely unnoticed the root because her eyes were teared up, making everything blurry and distorted. Once she hit the ground, she groaned and sniffled as she picked herself up and held herself on her hands and knees. Her tears were falling profusely, patting the ground and dampening the dirt into a darker shade. Her face was contorted and full of unsettled, melancholy emotion. Her teeth were clenched because she could no longer hold it in. She came to an idea, but brushed it off before as coincidence. After kissing Naruto, this coincidence became something she couldn't tolerate. Was Naruto transforming into some alternate form of Yahiko? No, that couldn't be true. No one could ever replace Yahiko, especially Naruto Uzumaki. She picked herself up and patted the dirt off of her clothes, sniffling and wiping her eyes continuously to try and assure herself that she needed to be stronger than she is now. Yahiko died years ago. There's no reason for me to cry this way. In flashback, Konan knew the boy was watching her. but she couldn't bring herself to look him in the eye. What she did was so unspeakable that she couldn't even talk to the boy or anyone for that matter. It felt so wrong. Who knew that something so simple could make the paper user lose herself in uncertainty? But the question was, why was she letting this get to her? It was something so simple and meaningless. It's not like she did it on purpose. Accidents happen, right? But it was an accident that could never be forgotten. Something like this would haunt her for the rest of her days. Whenever Naruto would try to talk to her about it, Konan would only try her best to ignore him or just disappear away from him altogether. She knew that he may have been worried, but she just couldn't bear to face him. The embarrassment was too much to bear, so much that she felt as if she had no other choice but to keep herself away from him. Konan didn't want to give the orange-haired boy any ideas about what happened a week before. Naruto knew that something was wrong as he continued eyeing her. She looked so sad. After several of Naruto's attempts to make her happy, she finally broke her depression and started smiling again. But now, it looked like she was going down the same path and would fall deeper than she did before if it was possible, but highly unlikely. He didn't want that. He knew she didn't want that either. There have been a couple of times where Naruto would try to confront the blue-haired woman about what happened before, but she would walk away from the group and tell him not to follow her. Of course, Naruto, being ignorant about her situation as he was, tried to follow after her, but Kakashi stopped him in his tracks. The Jinchuriki obviously got quite upset about that, but Kakashi knew that Konan needed some time to herself for a change. Ever since they had that first talk when he followed her the first time, he knew that she felt chained and bound like a prisoner of the Leaf Village and felt that maybe some quiet time was all she needed. He figured he could give her that much, if any at all. He may not have had much trust in her, but he had enough to give her space. The sun slowly set over the horizon as Kakashi finally stopped in a small clearing in the woods, making the others that were following him do the same. All right, we will camp here for the night. We will do the same as we have been before. Take turns on watch every 2 hours. Konan and Naruto will share the same tent, while Yamato and myself share. Naruto nodded his head, while Konan stayed silent and looked in a different direction. Later that night, Konan sat by a tree, listening to her surroundings and getting a feel for chakra signatures around as she did her watch. She stayed silent as she gazed at the moon and thought. The woman totally lost herself as she looked upon the big white orb in the sky, thinking about how enormous it could actually be. The view was truly remarkable, although the clouds kept floating across the moon, obstructing her view. She has only seen the moon a handful of times when she was younger, and other times when she was out on missions for Akatsuki. It always rained every day in Amigakure, but once or twice a year, the rain would stop and the clouds would part, revealing a shining, beautiful circle in the sky. Konan would look onto it in amazement and awe. It was always something that she would remember and treasure, not only because of the beauty, but because it always calmed her when she looked at it. It was almost as if it was telling her that things would get better, or telling her that the clouds would eventually part in her life, revealing a great peace. Looking around the moon, she also saw all of the tiny shining specks in the sky. The stars, they were so small and insignificant, but they complemented the moon as if they belonged together. She could only smile as she softened her eyes on the sky's canvas. Things like this would make all of her worries disappear in an instant, and she would feel glad about it. When she was in Akatsuki, she never had breaks like this to really enjoy nature. But now as she sat here, viewing the wind, blowing the tree limbs softly, and looking at the snow glistening on the ground, she really became that much closer to nature. Konan-chan, the woman in question, abruptly snapped out of her daze and looked over to her right. Her eyes widened as she looked at him, only for her to quickly shift her gaze to the ground with a frown. What do you want, Naruto-san? I want to talk about what happened, La. There's nothing to talk about, the blue-haired woman quickly replied while turning her gaze the opposite way from Naruto. Now if there's nothing else to say, then leave. But Konan-chan, why did you do it? Konan fell silent as she stared at the blanket of snow on the ground, as if it was something important. I don't know why. It just happened. As soon as it escaped her mouth, she knew that was the wrong thing to say. But she couldn't think of anything else. If Konan told him that she thought he was Yahiko or that she got lost in the moment, then the woman would look crazy or as if she really did like the boy. But Konan-ch, look, Naruto-san, Konan replied with a sigh. I know you are confused and probably questioning whether or not I have feelings for you. Naruto stood there dumbfounded as she completely guessed what he was thinking. But you should clearly know that what happened then was completely an accident. Our relationship is purely friend-based, nothing more. I am only here to fulfill Yahiko's and Nagato's vision of peace and help protect the world from Madara. Naruto inwardly felt a little sad about that, although he really didn't know why. Now, if you have nothing more to talk about, please leave me alone. I just want to be by myself for a while. She turned her eyesight back to the moon as she sat there, trying to forget that Naruto was even around her. Naruto stood there, soaking up everything that she said. It took him well over a few seconds before he made up his mind. He walked over nonchalantly and sat down beside Konan. What are you doing? The orange-haired boy dropped his eyes to her direction. I'm staying with you. But why? I said I didn't want you here. I need to figure things out on my own. Good, Naruto said confidently. You can figure it out while I'm sitting here. Naruto-san, why are you making things so difficult? The woman replied with an annoyed but sad gesture. Haven't you done enough already? Because I made a promise and I plan to keep it. Konan flashed her eyes to his direction and locked her gaze onto his. His look was determined, just like that night. She tried to find falseness in his gaze or voice, but found none. I told you that I would never let you steer yourself that low again. Nobody deserves that, you know? Naruto looked to the ground and brought his head back up to look at her with a grin. Believe it or not, keeping you happy is one of my most important goals in life, and I vowed to keep you in the happiest mood you have ever been and ever will be. Before she knew it, she felt a slight warmness to her cheeks. That last comment was something she wasn't expecting. Although she already knew that Naruto didn't mean it in the other way, having someone say that to her was something that she oddly liked to hear. Before she knew it, she smiled to him. Thank you, Naruto-kun. He looked over to her and grinned right back. It seemed that this was all that she needed to set her mind straight, and it eased Naruto's worries. Her adding Kun to the end of his name only made it better. She trusted him now. Konan didn't have to think about it anymore. Of course, he reminded her so much of Yahiko, because her dead lovers will rest it on this boy's shoulders. Heroes always carry the same determination. Maybe he will grow more mature with age like Yahiko did. Only time will tell. Konan-chan, stirring her from her ruminations, she looks over. Yes, I can take the rest of your shift, and take mine too. You deserve more rest than I do. You haven't slept very well in the past few days, and I think you should sleep a little more. Naruto-kun, the woman replied while looking slightly startled. You know I can't do that. I don't want to take away from your equal resting period. You will be tired in the morning. Ha! Nonsense, I can't handle myself. Naruto retorted while puffing out his chest. You should relax and let me handle it. You need your beauty rest, and I can't take no for an answer. Konan was about to retort to that, but she realized that Naruto was indeed stubborn once it came down to certain things, so she just smiled a warm smile. I guess you're right, I do need my rest. She stood up and dusted off the snow from her pants. I have a feeling that I won't have any more sleeping problems. Good night, Naruto-kun. Good night. And with a wave of her hand, she walked back to the tent that Naruto and her share, leaving the blonde boy alone with his thoughts. He could only grin as he thought about Konan's smile. He never realized that all she needed was a little talking to. He never knew it was that easy. He sighed contentedly as he lay on the trunk that Konan was laying on previously. Konan opened the flap to her tent and took off her flak jacket and orange flower. Stretching out her arms, she crawled into her sleeping bag and took notice of the heaviness that began to descend on her eyelids. She didn't really have time to think about what she wanted to think about. All she knew was that she hasn't felt this sleepy in a long while. She never knew it was so simple. The woman closed her eyes and slowly drifted away into a bright, expansive, and grassy field. No, Naruto-kun, do it again, right? Sorry, Konan-chan. Naruto was busy practicing a new jutsu that Konan was currently teaching him. He had been doing this for quite some time during the day, and he was left feeling tired and running short of chakra. He didn't know why, but he just couldn't do it. After trying again, but failing, he just fell to the ground with a sigh. I can't do it, Konan-chan. Learning to control paper with futon chakra is really hard, he replied, puffing for air. Konan sighed softly while walking over to him. She could understand his difficulty for the special ability she has. It was her Kekiai Jinkai, and something that she treasured deeply. It's not like she learned how to master paper jutsu in a day. I understand, Naruto-kun, but if you want to learn a new ability while gaining new tactics to use with me, then you'll have to learn how to use this, the woman replied softly while lying down next to Naruto. They became real comfortable with each other after that small talk they had the night before. It seemed they reached a middle ground and truly felt that everything was all right. With his back to the ground, Naruto looked into the clouds of the bright afternoon sky. It was so peaceful and not a soul in sight. The wind blew softly between the both of them and made it seem as if there wasn't a care in the world. It's so nice out here today. I wish every day was like this, Naruto said with a smile. Konan turned her head slightly to view him. She broke out into a warm smile before looking back up into the sky. I couldn't agree with you more. Their gazes were fixed on the deep blue canvas as white puffs of cotton floated across the view. The trees shook softly to the rhythm of the wind and left a harmonious atmosphere upon them both. The life seemed to be so thriving and wonderful. A few moments later, a bird chirped in one of the trees, leaving Naruto to sigh in disappointment. I think we should head back to Kakashi-sensei. He might get concerned about us, Naruto said reluctantly. He slowly started pulling himself up when a hand grabbed his sleeve and tugged it. Wait, Naruto-kun, why don't we just lay here a little bit longer? Konan asked a little desperately. Naruto looked back at her and saw her face before looking back to a general direction and scratching his face. I really don't think we should keep Kakashi-sensei waiting. He tried to get up again before Konan gripped him tighter, this time on the wrist, but Naruto-kun, she apparently pulled too tight, and it made Naruto stumble before regaining his balance by placing both of his palms on the ground. After getting his bearing back, he realized one thing, Konan-chan and Naruto-kun. He was on top of Konan in a very delicate situation. The woman looked at him with a redness to her face and a silent tongue. Naruto looked down upon her with a certain tint to his own cheeks. Wait a minute. Why am I blushing? Think, Naruto, you can't like her. What happened last time was an accident. An accident, but I'm frozen. Why can't I get off? That was when he looked at her face. With it being so red, it made her look so cute. She couldn't look any better. She had a natural pale complexion because of her years of staying in Amigay cure, but now her skin had darkened up a bit, leaving a warmer natural glow and sheen. Maybe the sheen came from being in the heat today. His eyes lowered to her lips. He tried to look away, but they were just so enticing. They were a light shade of pink that slightly sparkled in the sun. They looked so soft and inviting that looking at them only drew him closer to her face. He hasn't kissed a girl before, and the only one he did kiss was the woman that was lying below him. It felt so good, so why shouldn't he do it again? It's not like she wasn't enjoying it the last time, but it's not right. I shouldn't do this. I can't control myself, though. But it's not like she's resisting. And maybe just a slight brush against the lips would be okay. Konan's thoughts were along the same lines as Naruto's. This isn't right. I shouldn't be doing this with him. But I can't keep myself from staring at him. I am so embarrassed. Well, maybe one kiss would be okay. I mean, we have kissed before. Wait a minute. What am I saying? Oh God, he's getting closer. She was gazing at Naruto with soft, half-lidded eyes, almost like she's been wanting or waiting for Naruto to do this. She didn't want to fight it because she knew that it felt good the last time. It wasn't like anybody was watching them. She couldn't feel a presence around at all. It only left her wanting his kiss more. Her heartbeat slowly picked up its pace as she stared at his mouth, slowly inching its way to hers. Naruto eventually brushed his lips against hers as they both closed their eyes. As soon as the kiss started, it went very slowly and softly. Konan blushed even darker as she brought her hands up to Naruto's broad body. Her left hand went to his hair as she started massaging his scalp. Her other hand went to his back as she felt Naruto's kiss deepen. She softly moaned into Naruto's mouth at the intense sensation. She hasn't kissed in so long, and she forgot just how good it really felt. MMGH ha, Naruto-kun. Naruto copied her as he continued kissing her sweet lips. Konan-chan. Naruto-kun, Konan-chan, and Naruto-kun. Wow. Naruto opened his eyes quickly as he pulled himself up. He stretched as he got a look at his surroundings. It was pitch black in the night. The sun wasn't even close to rising yet. He rubbed his eyes rather quickly as he realized Konan hit him moments before. He looked over to see Konan inches away from him. Actually, they were in the same sleeping bag with Naruto's sleeping bag, completely empty, staring at him from the other side of the tent. Wait a sec, why aren't I in my sleeping bag? Naruto asked while scratching his head. I should ask you the same thing. Konan replied with distaste and arched eyebrows. She folded her arms as Naruto turned his head to view her and started sweating in nervousness. He knew that Konan was mad at him. Something like that was uncalled for if it was done on purpose. Immediately, Naruto got out of Konan's vicinity as he threw his hands up in defense. Konan-chan, I swear I would never try to sleep in the same bag without permission. Konan blushed faintly at Naruto's poor choice of words before rebuttaling. Whatever, just forget about it. Your hormones have kicked in full force. It's only natural you would try to pull something like that. She pulled the covers back over her body and rolled over to keep herself from facing him. Although, contrary to what you may believe, I am not easy. So do yourself a favor and stay in your sleeping bag, because next time, I will put you in a full body paper cast and tie you to a tree. Take this as fair warning. But I didn't. Good night, Naruto-kun. The orange-haired boy sighed in guilt. Yeah, good night, Konan-chan. He rolled over in his sleeping bag, facing the opposite of her. He knew that once she put her foot on the ground, she wasn't budging. It didn't seem like she was going to believe him, no matter how hard he pleaded for his innocence. As minutes slowly passed and things got really quiet, he started thinking about the dream he had moments before. He's never had dreams like that, at least none that involved Konan or making out for that matter. This was something relatively new to him. But I thought that was really happening. It really felt like I was there and doing all of that stuff all day. Weird. He didn't want to delve into it any longer because his Johnny was getting riled up, and he knew that he wouldn't be able to go to sleep if it kept up. Soon after, he closed his eyes and fell into another deep sleep. Konan, however, was wide awake. She couldn't go to sleep. Not after what she experienced, that dream. It felt so real. And Konan blushed hard as she thought about all of those images. Not long after she had that incident in mistaking Naruto for Yahiko, she has a dream of making out with him again. She couldn't believe the way her mind was acting. Calm down, Konan. It was just a dream. You didn't actually let Naruto have his way with you. She mentally face-palmed herself. What am I thinking? These thoughts should be illegal. They were wrong. How could she start thinking about Naruto in a way like that? She's only supposed to look after his well-being and make sure he is properly trained. Yes, that's right. Friends. Nothing more. Anything further would be considered outrageous. People would look down on her for making it seem like she was taking advantage of him or something. She can't have that. Now that she thinks about it, even the sound of starting a relationship with Naruto is crazy. Konan snorted to herself as she closed her eyes. Yeah. Why am I worried? That would never work out anyway. Naruto's the chosen child. I just wouldn't fit in the picture like that. He's the hero, and I'm just a nobody. After feeling satisfied with her answer to herself, she tried to go to sleep. It came a little easier this time as her eyelids fell heavy, but her final thoughts still echoed throughout her mind. He's the hero, and I'm just a nobody. Nobody. Triple X. Hey, wait. Raikage and his guardians quickly turned to see who called them. I had a feeling you were going to follow us, Karui told them with a scowl. Why don't you just stay away from us? Naruto came to an abrupt stop with a passive and determined look on his face. Konan followed, after with the two leaders tailing them to a halt. Sir, I ask you, please forgive my comrade Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto replied, ignoring Karui while bowing slightly towards a Raikage. He's been through more than anyone would know. He just wants justice, the justice that is seen through his eyes. The Raikage looked onward silently before turning with an angry frown. His ignorance is what is causing all of our trouble. Why should we just let go everything that he has done? He has attacked and tried to capture my Jinchuriki. He is a missing nin and a part of Akatsuki as well. Am I correct? Naruto nodded silently, but didn't change his attitude. Yes, sir. Then he should be dealt with like any other missing nin should be. Killed or captured for ransom. Naruto frowned as he continued. He will most likely be killed for his actions if we were to catch him. But I am unsure about your village's practices. Reikage told him gruffly. Lord Reikage, Karui said, while looking his way. That woman is the person I was talking about. She pointed while looking at Konan. What can we do? Shouldn't she be captured since she is a part of Akatsuki? I was a part of Akatsuki, Konan replied, but I am no longer. The group no longer served its original purpose. I only realized this after Naruto defeated the leader. So now I have an insurmountable debt that I have to pay to him and the entire Leaf Village. It's only right after what I have done. Kakashi then stepped in and placed a hand on Konan's shoulder, slightly startling her. Due to certain circumstances, Konan here is forced to stay a part of the Leaf Village for the rest of her life. She is a slave to the Leaf now and is protected by the Leaf. Therefore, if anything is done to her from any other nation or village, then we the Leaf will act accordingly, as if she is a Leaf ninja herself. Iai grunted before turning his head away from them. Either way, she is still scum in my eyes. As for Sasuke Uchiha, he is a threat to my village. I will do whatever it takes to capture him or kill him. None of your pity or words can stop me. He turned away as his guardians followed him. Karui smirked in victory because she knew the Reikage would do no such thing. Everyone else was silent. They heard what he was saying, and they knew it was true. Reikage spared no one. He was the type of guy you really didn't want to mess with. Although before leaving eyesight, Reikage took one last glance at the strange boy while he slowly walked away. Naruto frowned even more as he thought about what Iai said. Konan walked over to Naruto and spoke softly. Naruto-kun, you tried. That's what matters the most. I think Reikage was actually hinting something to you earlier. It seemed as though he could understand in a way, if at least what you were going through. Naruto looked awed by what she just said. He hinted something? Yes, Konan replied, while softly smiling. He said that his village would surely kill Sasuke if they had a chance, but he also said that he didn't know if the Leaf would actually follow through with killing him at all. He could be suggesting that if the Leaf Village caught him first, then maybe you would actually have a true chance in saving him. She's telling the truth, Naruto, Kakashi responded while looking over to his student. Sasuke may get put in solitary, but he will still be alive. It's just the point of getting him back to the Leaf Village that will be a problem, but it is possible. Naruto contemplated those words before grinning with another determined face. Then that means that I can't give up yet. I still have a chance. I'm not giving up on Sasuke. Konan smiled at Naruto's antics. He seemed to really care about his friends. It just amazed Konan to no end how Naruto would try to rescue a fallen friend. Friendships were very valuable things, and Konan knew that firsthand. If either of her friends were alive, then maybe she would have done the same thing? No, there is no question if she would do the same thing. She would help her friends to the end. If she would have known earlier of Nagato's stress and pain, then maybe she could have prevented all of this. But the past is truly the past. Nothing can be changed except for the future. I hope we can turn this around. This disaster has gone on long enough. Yahiko, Nagato, please help us. Good. Then I think we should continue our trek, but first I think a stop in the town close by is in order, Kakashi said in slight humor. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement and dashed. Cabin. Well, this place looks pretty cozy to be in the snow like this, Naruto said as he walked in. Konan walked in behind Kakashi as he looked over to Naruto. Well, it's not that bad. It will be better than our last sleeping arrangement, that's for sure. Naruto looked around before he sat down on the floor. The walls echoed, an eerie silence that seemed to penetrate his eardrums constantly. This room was as empty as the streets at night in Konoha. But everything was so clean and spotless that it didn't really matter that it was empty. After looking around, but finding nothing really important, Naruto heard Kakashi speak up. Konan, watch after Naruto, while Yamato and myself finish up the arrangements to the cabin. It will only take us a few minutes. He did one last eye smile before he disappeared into the snow with a silent Yamato. Naruto did the only thing he could do. He fell backwards onto the tatama mats and crossed his arms underneath his head. The truth was that he was just too in thought about Sasuke. Why would he do something like this? Why not just come back? It was so easy, and everyone would eventually forgive him. Why not come home? Are you thinking about Sasuke? Naruto turned his head and saw Konan. She had a slight look of concern in her eyes, which surprised him. You decide. How did you know? Came his disheartened voice, but didn't change his body position. Well, it's not really hard to figure out. She started while walking over to Naruto and sitting beside him. Is this the reason why we came out this way? Are you trying to find Sasuke and bring him back to your home? His home? After contemplating, Naruto sighed. I just don't understand him anymore, Konan-chan. What do you not understand, Naruto-kun? She replied before lying down next to him in a similar pose. Hearing his thoughts about Sasuke was really intriguing, and she couldn't pass up on it. She'd seen the deranged boy a few times and knew that he was experiencing something within his mind that was driving him mad. It's just that he used to be an okay guy. Now he is left with only a desire to kill. Konan listened with rapt attention. But I know he really doesn't want to do that. Naruto's eyelids lowered. No one would. No matter how hard their life was. I know this may be none of my business. The jounin started, but wasn't there a time when you used to be shunned? Didn't you feel any hatred towards anyone? Enough hatred to kill? I'm sure it wasn't easy having the Leaf's hatred on your shoulders. Naruto laid there in silence, looking into space with sadness in his demeanor. His heart lightly ached from the past that he never wanted to bring up again. Well, when I was younger and didn't know much, of course I was angry at everyone who was mean to me. I couldn't stand it. He clenched his fists very tightly before relaxing them again, but I always eventually got over it because of the few people that actually did understand and helped me. A slight chuckle escaped his lips at the time. I really didn't know why people were so mean to me. I always thought it was because they thought I was a bad kid because I lived on my own. But now I know that wasn't true. It was because I had the demon fox sealed within my body. I carried the burden. You must have been scared, weren't you? Konan asked softly, with her eyesight looking dead at him. He looked over to her and saw something. He saw another side of Konan. She looked genuinely concerned for Naruto and didn't seem like she was faking it all. In a way, he was happy that she actually cared. It made him understand her a little better. His lips curved upward before he started speaking again. I was at that time, but I've learned since then. I can't totally blame them for their misunderstanding. We are all just people after all. None of us can really be perfect. But at least we can try. He laughed with a grin before looking back at Konan. Konan smiled at the boy's antics. He never let anything get him down. He always looked so confident. It just really brought up her mood. I'm sorry for interrupting, but are you quite finished? A dark voice interrupted as both Naruto and Konan shot their attention to the speaker. They stared at him momentarily as he held a bored posture with his chin resting on his hand. Kaboom! Silly Naruto. You know Rinnegan doesn't work on me. The masked figure replied as he stood on the roof by the protruding hole in the ceiling. Naruto was all of a sudden pushed back as Konan ruffled her papers on her skin. They started peeling off and whirling around her figure as she bore her eyes into his. Madara. The man only looked at her with a scoff. Oh, so you've grown an attachment to the boy now, I see. How sweet. The woman didn't say anything as she lowered her eyelids in more distaste. Her anger was so deep. Just even looking at this man again caused her to almost go insane and attack him on the spot. There was only a tiny amount of restraint that was keeping her at bay. It was that little nagging voice that told her that nothing would work on him. Not at the moment anyway. She was unprepared. Suddenly, which sprouted from every direction as it encased Naruto into a wooden cell. What the hell? His eyes looked up and saw Madara constricted in wood. Kakashi-sensei. We won't let you get your hands on Naruto that easily, Madara. Kakashi told the masked man with a Sharingan blaring and a kunai to the masked man's throat. Madara held no emotion but simply told them, you should already know that physical attacks do not work on me. Well, I don't know if you were a projection, Yamato replied while maintaining eye contact, but I do know that you need to be physically solid in order to grab Naruto. So I'm just waiting for that moment. Big solid blocks would start to slowly rise from the ground by Yamato's with jutsu, as if waiting to strike. I didn't come here to fight, Toby told them nonchalantly. I have my own plans in motion, and I can't ruin it with some light squabble such as this. I just came to talk. To talk? Of what? Kakashi was wary as he held the kunai closer to Toby's throat. About Nagato. Naruto, I am very curious. How did you get Nagato to betray me? I don't care about your stupid questions. The boy replied with clenched teeth. Where's Sasuke? What did you do to him? What do you want from him? Sasuke, huh? The masked man replied as if in thought. Okay, I'll tell you all about Sasuke Uchiha. about the boy with so much hatred for the leaf and carries the Uchiha's burden. Well, that's it for today. I hope you all enjoyed this content. If you do, please leave a like, share, and comment anything you want, because more you comment, it motivate me to upload more content. And make sure to check out the author of this story. All details and description.